For some reason, my chat is like going full screen. There we go. Back in control. Welcome, everybody, as people are logging in. It's great to see you today.
Hi, Renee.
Hey, Karen, Leah. I see a lot of people that I love and know. It's great to see some new people, too.
Renee, it seems like I haven't seen you guys for a while. What happened?
I don't know, Leah. I think it's been like over a week since you and I have been in a meeting together.
You all are a sight for sore eyes.
I know.
Yes, for sure.
We also wanted to let everybody know that one of our fearless leaders, Megan, is not going to be able to be here today. There's a chance she might pop on, but she had a family situation come up and family is always first. Especially for all of us in education and early childhood ed. So I'm going to be filling in a little bit, but Shannon's got everything, and we are ready to go. We're excited to see everyone today.
Yes. Please take a minute to add your name and your college to the chat box for us, please. We do have some great updates that we're looking forward to sharing with everyone today. And again, I'll do my best. I'm multitasking, making sure that I'm getting people out of the waiting room while I'm running the presentation. So thank you for your patience today. And awesome. Hi, Anna. I have someone here from my college, so yay.
Yay.
Bill and John are here, and
Hi,
Becky.
Shannon.
Oh, awesome. We've got nice representation across the state. Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Jennifer's here. Wonderful.
Happy New Year, Sharon. Good to see you. Okay.
Andy.
There's Andy. Hi, Andy.
Andy's on. Oh, nice.
Antelope Valley's representing today.
Valerie from Shasta. This is excellent.
And I'm still glued to the same chair, but there's an end in sight because I got the first vaccine shot.
Yay!
And I'm getting the next one on the 19th.
It is right now.
So there is an end to this, sitting here since March, for most part, since March.
Wonderful. Anyway.
Welcome, Una. Glad you're here today.
Okay, I think I've gotten everybody out of the waiting room, and being that we're almost 5 after, we'll go ahead and get started. So again, thank you all for joining us today. We are going to do our best to go through some of these components with you, and we definitely want to hear from you and get feedback and hear what's going on with you at your sites as well. So thank you again. We do have some general updates that we'll go through, and then we're going to talk about some of those fieldwork projects that we have been working on. A couple of quick updates as far as the schools reopening. Let me escape out of here, and I'm going to show you a website that Renee sent. Again, just making sure that you're utilizing this website for the state of California, as they are updating constantly here. I'll make sure that I put this in the chat box for you all.
This hub is really good, everybody. If you have not checked it out, you definitely want to. And it's a website. It's like a rabbit hole. You got to kind of get into it and kind of dive into it, but there's lots of great resources. Please check it out.
Again, most of California is still looking like special education students back on campus working with special populations. A lot of our second language learner students in small cohorts are coming back. So that's the basic update we have, and then anything changing, that website will surely give you those updates along the way that you will need. If anything else pops up, if you hear something or if you have heard something, please let us know and share that with us. And anything you ever want to send out to the entire cooperative, please send it my way and I'll make sure to get it out to everyone. As far as the reopenings with our CSUs and what that's looking like, at this point, we do know that CSUs will be open in the fall. There has been some chatter in my area as to what that will look like. It's going to be a mixture, again, with some of the virtual components continuing moving forward. I think it's a combination of working with the instructors on campus, depending on specific situations. I do know even at my college, there's conversation going on around our counselors working more virtually, and most of ours is because we don't have a lot of space on our campus. So building an opportunity there. So there's been some definite opportunity to continue to build some of those virtual components for our students. I'll be looking at some virtual teaching and face-to-face teaching going back in the fall. I did attend the Fresno State's President's Commission on Teacher Ed this last week, and it was an interesting conversation. The superintendents for Fresno Unified, Clovis Unified, and Sanger Unified were all there and present and speaking on what they've been doing in their districts. Fresno Unified, is one of our larger districts in California, but the three work very close together. And they were discussing how in their org charts, they're now having to create an administrative position for health and safety. And that has, funding that they've never prepared for, that they're going to have to build in moving forward. So again, the K-12 system is definitely going to be shifting and changing. And because of the audience, the superintendents were quite candid in the conversation, which was wonderful to hear from them. And they were really focusing on those changes, but how they've spent so much time learning more about vaccinations and all of these components on health and safety that they have never had to think about before. It's never been, in their purview. And so preparing for that has been a challenge. And the fact that they've been working together in our district, in our area, has been awesome to see. But again, the funding is going to be shifting. That's going to be something that's going to be more permanent in those org charts, seeing that position building and growing. It was interesting to see the conversations. We had a spokesperson talk about our rural community areas. For the Central Valley, we do have a lot of school districts that are out in the middle of nowhere, farming communities. And so the bus driver, the one bus school driver would drive around and drop off lunches at homes in their yards. And that's what's been going on for a while, because there was no other way to get to a lot of these students. One of the small country schools that they spoke about is actually in the town I live in. And this is a charter school, and it's more of an elite charter school in this area. And the fact that when your child is born, if you want them to go to the school, that you're already on a waiting list. So it's not, students and families that are minorities or have learning situations going on. These are kids that have mostly both parents at home that, either working or a stay-at-home parent that are helping them with their education, and the dynamic is strong in their background for that educational growth. And from March to August, when they came back, because the school has been in since August, the gap in their learning from the students from March to August was phenomenally larger than they expected. So they're still playing catch up, which they did not prepare for. And again, that's students that their parents have been helping them and working with them at home this entire time. So it just can't even imagine what that's going to look like for our general population of most of our students coming back to the classroom, and the gaps that we're seeing. We're pretty good at showing our faces in our meetings and participating. Our students, not so much, right? I've been teaching to mostly Black screens. My husband is a high school teacher. He teaches to almost all Black screens all day. He doesn't know if his students are participating. He does have an AP course. When they were on a different schedule in the fall, he saw them at 11 o'clock twice a week. Their cameras were on, they were participating. They're now meeting at 8 a.m. twice a week. He hasn't seen a face since we've been back since January. So again,
by choice? By choice, they're allowed to say the screen is.
Yes, most of us cannot mandate that because they're in their homes.
Yeah, they tried to roll it out where it was mandated, Sharon, and there was so much pushback for equity issues and for connectivity issues and accessibility issues. And it was like, I think we almost pushed back too far though, because it's like it's become black screens with white names on them almost entirely. Unless teachers are, requiring it in their own way and whatnot, but the schools can't. So
But
it's definitely
I
a challenge.
gotta ask, because it's a burning question. I can't get an answer because I think that we ask in our own way, meaning we give somebody, say, here's a cool background, so we don't have to see your mother bringing laundry and we don't have to see your mess and da da da. Because I think it's just snowflake. You can find ways if you have to go into a closet and do it, and it, that your husband is teaching to a blank screen is, I think that's horrible. And we have to allow this.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of that is equity issues. He is in an area where students do not live in a space that they're proud of, and they don't want people to know where they're actually living. That is a lot of the case in our area.
I know, but you can get a virtual background.
I do know, Sharon, I do know of some teachers and professors that are starting off their courses by teaching their students about backgrounds and about kind of like those strategies. So especially for anybody whose semester's kicking off right now, like have that be part of one of your introductions. You know what I mean? Like, let's learn about Zoom backgrounds. Let's learn about these different technology tools. Let's learn about draping up a dollar curtain from the Dollar Tree. Like, let's get economical and teach them how, because if they're working on being professionals, we can always include that. And then another thing too, is when you are on camera, set the tone. One of the things I do is, like, whenever I'm speaking with a group of students, which isn't as frequently since I'm not a professor right now, but I still am quite a bit engaged with students, I'll just say, hey, everybody, like, it's so hard to see all of you guys just with the black screens. Could a couple people log on? Like, my name's Renee, and I try and like bring it down to earth. I'm a mom of 2 kids. And, I try and like stay away from I was a professor for over a decade and go with I'm more of an educator and I'm a mom, and try and be accessible. But only then, Sharon, I might have like 8 out of 30 put their camera on. But you just try your best. And then I would also try to persuade them through the power of peer, like, wow, thank you so much, Leah, for having your camera on. It's great to see you today. Like those little like kind of things we do in the classroom.
Meaning I'm asynchronous. We don't have Zoom. We don't do it. I've been doing it for 20 years. I mean, it's been that way. It's project-based, da, 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 da. And we were always discouraged from having something that would leave the other students out if you have to come at a specific time and you don't want a recording. But I'm facing this now because I have students doing their field work and it's all Zoom. And I'm telling them exactly what you said. And say, oh, okay, here's a cute background. Or, hey, you can do this in the closet and da, 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 meaning the clothes closet or at the bathroom. I mean, I don't want people to sit into my kitchen, and I have a horrible mess here, but I don't care at this point.
Yeah, if you took my camera and put it like down right now, it's a very different situation than what you see up here. Okay, right? Keeping it real. I love that people are talking in the chat right now about this too, and we always keep track of our chat and try to keep recording of it and whatnot, so that way we're constantly, really making sure we're in tune with what's happening in the field. One of the things I want to mention that Peggy wrote is she said, I tell my students I won't teach to black screens. You've got to put up a photo and avatar something. That's a great strategy, because then I know my son, he doesn't like being on all the time. And so what he does is he has this like a professional looking picture of him, like it looks like he's there, but he's not, it's still. But I'm like, that's okay, as long as you have a representation of you in one way or the other. So I think there's a lot of, I don't know if there's a right answer on this, Shannon. Like, it's a tricky one,
It is. And, I can't actually use virtual backgrounds. My computer is too old. It won't let me do that. That's why you get to see my mess behind me. And usually there's a cat or a dog or something in my view. I literally have an open door to a closet behind me so that you don't have to see my daughter's messy room behind me. So I tell them all the time, you have to do what you can to make it work. And that's how that's gonna go for them. I will tell you, the one thing I've been doing in breakout rooms is asking my students to at least unmute so that they're not typing in the chat box to each other. There is a lot of connectivity issues too. So if my student supplemental instructor hasn't been able to turn her camera on this week, because when she does, she gets kicked out of my Zoom room. So, and I know Google is very different from Zoom. So K-12 people, it looks very different than what you're seeing in Google versus Zoom as well. So I don't know that there is a answer to all of that, but I do know that there are a lot of solutions and a lot of opportunity and ideas. So I wrote down a couple of notes. I'll start working on some Zoom etiquette ideas that we can kind of maybe build into our next update.
Yeah, maybe we could do a training on it too, if that's something that we find as relevant, and we could even open it up to students if we want. I mean, there's a lot of ideas with that. Sure. I love too how Becky said, I found that when students are in small groups in their breakout rooms, they tend to turn on their camera then, and then we come back to the whole group, they turn their camera off. That's another way that we can encourage it. I want to just, I know we need to always be thinking of equity issues. Definitely. I do want to point out though, I hope everybody knows right now across the world, we have an uptick of plastic surgery happening due to the virtual space. So it's literally impacting people wanting to physically go through procedures to change themselves. So there's a lot of psychological kind of layers to this by all means.
Too late for me.
I saw that there was a question, but I can't find it about vaccines, and I'm searching, but I'm not able to see it.
That was my question. I don't know if you've heard anything yet, but I was wondering if once observations actually start being allowed again, if there's going to be vaccination requirements for the observers, which we'd have to tell our students that they need to have.
Right.
I've only heard there's a lot of chatter about it right now and a lot of chaos about it. The public is really confused about what's going to happen in terms of what's going to be mandated or not. Shannon, do you know of anything that's officially grounded at this point? I think it's all still like hypothetical at this point. I don't think
it's because of the ages, right? So if they're still doing the vaccines based on age, it's going to be a while before we get to the 20-year-olds and the 25-year-olds that are in our classes. So that's going to lead into, Valerie, some opportunity I'm going to talk about with my MOU design and my contracts for my schools that I'm working on. So I think it all comes down to the language that we include as we move forward with some of these school districts. I have contracts that I'll be designing for each individual student based on the school that they go to. And it's really quick, easy fix to make changes in language. And I think that right now that's the only thing I know to do, because we don't have a solution with the vaccinations, is to work on that. We're just,
Are you,
I think it depends on the area too. So,
you know what, I'm sending students in, and so far, I think that most of them are helping with Zoom, and that's fine. But there's some who say, well, they can't go on in person because the school's not accepting any strangers. And I don't know if that's happening anywhere else. This is Orange County usually. I don't know. I have students.
Sharon, it's all over. It's all over.
Yeah. Everywhere except for Orange County, Sharon. I think Orange County is the only one that's even allowing Zoom rooms right now. Most of the school districts are not allowing our college students in a Zoom room either because of legality issues, because the students are in their homes. So there's a lot of red tape here that we're having to prepare for. So
I didn't realize that last part because I mean, I let them do alternative activities and I prepared them, and I think they're okay, but I put them through so much stuff. I don't know what they did to get a real place. I want to see the list, the dates, and this and that, because some of them, they're really needy. It's like my service dog has become so needy. It's like it's unbelievable just because you're sitting here. And there's most of them have said, oh, it's easier to find a Zoom place than to do what she's asking, but they have to prove it. That because I think it's, what they're telling me about what's going on with the Zoom rooms is something else, but these teachers need help. And they're providing, and the students that get in are providing it. So when you hear, no, we're not accepting students, I mean, that's really sad, because they're floundering.
They are. I think there's a mixture of it. And I think that through this process, we'll be able to develop further opportunity. I just don't think that most of our districts are quite there yet, but no, good for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to point out in chat, Becky just had a really interesting point about some of the things that she's doing in her campus. I think, Becky, are you TAF? Is that correct?
Should I look in chat?
I'm not misspeaking.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, Taft. Yeah, we luckily we were able to use our mentors, and I have about 8, and they have students from Bakersfield College and Taft College, and this is just one of the things we've come up with, but they're really jazzed. I have a couple that are actually using just, video, and then their children to talk about developmentally appropriate practice. They're working on ECHRs. They're going over with them with kind of like a fine-tooth comb on DRDPs. So it's not ideal. They're not in the physical classroom, but they're getting some really great mentoring. One teacher is really working on their professional development portfolios and the matrix and what they need to do next, and helping them with permits. And so it's going to work. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's going to be good.
That's
But you
amazing.
said
That's
so
wonderful.
no classroom observations, right now.
Not except for video. And then I have a couple that are in Zoom. So I have a couple students that are with, already working in the field. And so they were able to work with another teacher on their campus. But it's limited. I have very few. Most of my students are not already associated with a school, so they can't get in, and we're not really legally even allowed to place them. So my students are all over the place in terms of where they're at, but the bulk of them are working with mentors over Zoom.
What I'm finding too is that our EDU faculty that are currently full-time in TK through 12, and then they teach for us as adjunct, I feel like they've been a real open door in terms of helping to get our students, since they're like, they have their foot in both of the systems, somehow being full-time in the other system, their schools and their districts are kind of allowing a little more access because of that, which is kind of interesting. It's a bit of an equity issue there though, because then some students get access and some do not. But I know of somebody who's faculty in both TK and 12 through 12 and the community college system, and his students are, when they want to, they have all the different options, but if they want to be going into a classroom, he's finding ways to get them in.
We have a TK teacher who teaches for us, and she's amazing. And she has students, but they're on Zoom. But I talked with her and she said it's working well, but she's a really just vibrant personality and her kids love her. And so, for students that are with her, they are on Zoom with her.
Great. Yeah. And we're hearing that more and more, that have both foot in the door for both areas. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity, a lot of ways that we can continue to expand. I'm doing a lot of lesson plan development with my students, and they're creating videos that I'm sharing with my K-12 partners, and they're using them at their PLC meetings, and they're doing evaluations and sending me information back. And so we're working through what we can. It is definitely not ideal, but I think that as we continue to move forward and get more creative, we're going to have more opportunity. Then we'll know what to do with, because of the fact that I don't think the virtual world's going away. It just gives us opportunity to be more creative. Oh, I'm sorry. Renee, did you want to give a quick update on any of the virtual conference plans?
Super quick. So just FYI, everybody, it is definitely looking like we are going to have a statewide conference in August. That's going to be open to all of our different education systems. So it will be a professional development event basically for everybody across the state that's involved in teacher preparation. I don't have an exact date for that yet, but we're looking at beginning to mid-August 2021. And then for a North-South virtual conference, there is some talk of having something in May, which we would think we'd have it solidified, but we don't, because the funding that we have hasn't officially landed. So it is looking like we will have some sort of student conference in May. I will give the information to everybody as soon as it all grounds. We'll email it out to everybody. Also, if it all situates like when in between our meetings, we'll just email it out to everybody, and then we'll share all the information at our upcoming meeting. So yes, they are happening. I'm sorry that we don't have official dates yet, but as soon as everything's solidified, we will email it out to everybody. Please know that the plan is that both of these will be 100% inclusive, and they will be 100% free. The idea is the spring conference will be for our student, and the fall conference will be for all of us coming together. So we'll be looking for people who are interested in presenting at both of those. So thanks so much, Shannon.
Thank you. I'm seeing a little more information coming through in the chat box. The teaching channel is just a website that has some really amazing teaching opportunities for students to view lots of lessons. You can create a free account, but it only allows you so many views. but it only uses an email. So if you have multiple emails, you can create multiple free accounts for a while. And the cost is not that expensive for the year if you purchase to use that. But I will tell you again, I'll go through the update on our Campus Commons project and make sure that you're aware of all of the videos and instruction that we do have there for virtual. Miss Kathleen.
Hi, everybody. Kathleen White. I was with City College of San Francisco, just recently retired, so I'm technically a volunteer right now. I have a couple of announcements. One is I met with Myra Cruz, who's the CTE lead for the Academic Senate for our Community College Academic Senate statewide, and have also met with Kate Williams Brown, who was in our TPP project, and many of you know her. She's Academic Senate President at Skyline and also on the State Academic Senate, and the CTC is the CTC advisor. So we kind of think that right now is the right time to introduce a resolution around EDU and ECE. Kate introduced a resolution which got through in December, which asked for academic support, academic Senate support around the 4 things that were identified by faculty as the result of all the communities of practice. So mentor program, support for lab schools, PPE, et cetera. And after talking about Myra and then touching base with Kate, we kind of think that to follow up, the next resolution should be a direct response to the governor's child care, California for, Care for All Kids plan, and ask for Academic Senate support to support our request that we become a sector, a priority sector at the state level in the CTE area of our chancellor's office, and then that we ask for some supports of Academic Senate that other priority sectors get, which is web support, faculty support, support around designing materials, et cetera. So I think that it's not going to hurt. Kate and I are going to put it together. We're looking for a college to first introduce it, and then it would go to the area for discussion. Myra feels that it wouldn't be controversial at all. We have many students in California who are in our pathways, and it's always been a high demand pathway. And so we're combining ECE and EDU. We think the time is right. Governor's plan has TK all over it. And so TK is ECE and EDU. So that's in the works. And then as part of that, she did offer a slot in the Academic Senate Spring Workshop to do a quick overview of what the communities of practice have been doing. So I'll be reaching out to some of you who have been active in all the EDU COPs and the ECE COPs. We can't do 20 people on this panel, but maybe 5 or 6 and just, 5 minutes a piece and then ask questions. The only other thing I want to mention is please, everyone on the call, pay attention to apprenticeship. Federal money coming out. It's so far got bipartisan support, and it very well could come out through the feds in a pretty significant apprenticeship package. And then our governor also has prioritized apprenticeship, and all the apprenticeship priorities are looking at non-traditional apprenticeships that serve women, disproportionately impacted students, everything our field represents, who they're not reflected in apprenticeships right now. So just pay attention. I think that's going to kind of grow this year, especially if the federal funds get out. I do see, oh, okay, yeah, Peggy. Yeah, I hear you. I think it's the TK issue is controversial, and and elements of the governor's plan are too. Absolutely.
How's the governor?
Well, but I think, and we'll see if they can find the funding for TK expansion. But I do think no matter what, whether it's in response to the governor's plan or whatever, I think it makes sense that our students have options and pathways and pipelines to move up in ECE, to have leadership roles, to go into, if they want school district jobs. I think no matter what the governor's plan is going to look like, it makes sense that our students have the support of the Community College Chancellor's Office with some enhanced supports the way other priority sectors have.
I put the ESEP's apprenticeships flyer in the chat for anybody who's interested. That's coming up in the end of April.
Yep.
That's a great one to get involved with if people are not working with Randy Wolf yet.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Okay, yeah, so just keep an eye out. I think, again, looking at opportunity to start to bridge between ECE and EDU as far as developing the opportunity for our students is going to be key moving forward for their success. Well, we want to ask you to take a couple minutes to start to think about what does spring fall look like for you in your fieldwork. I know I heard from a few of you already. Are you looking at hearing about what you're going to get to do this fall? Is there opportunity to have more mentoring, volunteer? Are you going to be able to have some students on campuses? We just kind of want to hear from you where you're at on that, or if you come up with any ideas moving forward.
Yeah, I'm from Coastline, and so we haven't even looked at fall because we just started last week. We just started spring, and they have like a couple weeks to supposedly, find a field placement, and some of them, are doing it, and it's floundering. But last spring, if that was any example, in the end, they all found a field placement and they did it themselves. We didn't have an office to place people, but the biggest obstacle were the different requirements. And if you ask someone, does it have to be a credentialed teacher? Like we think it does, and that's what we want. So it means that you can't be in an after school club, but I mean, that's the usual rule. But then again, if a credentialed teacher is with them, I mean, they work it out, but each district and each CSU has different requirements, and we're kind of afraid I personally use my own judgment. Is this going to count? And so far I haven't had any problem, but we haven't even thought about the fall yet, what's going to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing in the chat as well. And then I'm seeing some hybrid options, transitional options, some still going to be online. At this point, what I'm being told is that we'll continue to have opportunity through the spring and summer on virtual, and then kind of wait and see what happens after that. So we will continue to get updates and share out as we know more moving forward throughout the semester.
I just want to say one thing. I know that with us, those of us with the AAT and the Education 200, or maybe it's just Orange County and what's going on, but it says it clearly says it has to be in an elementary school, which I like to define as K-8 or TK-8. It has to be in a public school. And, this is just, and I always objected to that, because I think that some good things do happen if you have a credentialed teacher in a private school. And here you see, and I'm from San Diego, but I work in Orange County. Every single private school in San Diego County is open and flourishing, and those kids aren't getting behind. And they must have done something right. And so I'm ready to say, yeah, I'm going to let students do it in a private school if they can be accepted in. But I don't know if that's asking too much. But don't you think that it's,
I think if they have a credentialed teacher, a licensed credentialed teacher, that's the most important component at this point. As long as the situation of the classroom is similar to a public classroom.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it is. I know these schools and I know, usually I've just honored it. I won't let anyone do field work there unless they sign off that it might not count at Fullerton or Long Beach and da 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 da. But I see, in San Diego anyway, all the schools, the local schools are closed, but the private schools are not. And it makes you just angry because students are missing an opportunity for really good field work if they can't, if I don't open up and say, okay, tell me, find a private school and show me the credentials and the accreditation and blah, blah, blah. And so, I'm interested in, I mean, it's taking a step because I know it's not really supposed to be, but I think it's better than no field work.
Yes.
There was an interesting thing in the chat too. I believe this might be Doug, because it says just a fax man. It's like his other thing on his name. It says we're working on a partnership with LAUSD through the Step Up Tutoring Program, and he's at Mount SAC. So I'm not sure if we want him to mention a little bit about that, but that might be looking at that other space, and what it's going to be like. Because I understand that frustration of you've got these pods on campus with somebody who's considered an after school provider or an extended care provider. So they're not credentialed, but the kids are zooming into somebody credentialed. So it's just so many layers.
Yes.
Yeah, that is me. Sorry about the name. I don't know. I got to figure out how to fix that. But yeah, I'm Doug Healy. I'm at Mount San Antonio College, and we've had one meeting so far. We have another one coming up next week. It's a very dynamic program. I think they have space for 50 people, and I'm going to tell the students before the semester starts via email about this opportunity and see how many of them would be interested. And so, yeah, it's I don't know who else in this meeting is near enough to LAUSD, but I mean, it's all being done by Zoom anyway. So I'll keep you up to date, everyone, how it goes and what kind of feedback we get and whatnot. But it seems like an exciting opportunity to me.
Sure. That's wonderful.
Uh-huh.
Thanks for sharing that, Doug. Keep us posted.
I will.
Like to know how that goes. There was a hand up and I don't see it now.
Oh, that was me, Bakersfield College. Yeah, we have an education program now for the first time in the history of the college. We have a department that is elementary teacher education plus, and plus I won't go into. I've shared a little bit, but we have our first MOUs that came out just a year before the shutdown, and it took us a year to get those in place, and then we compete nicely, but we compete directly with our all of our privates and our big teacher college, which is CSUB, which is we feed into them. We are behind them in placements. In other words, we aren't priority, which I understand because they're closer, but we can't break those MOUs. And I have 170 right now just in our course that requires the observation, and we're low in enrollment. So we've had upwards of over 200 students to place, and then we are uniquely 44 districts in our county. Some have one school and some are huge, and then we have our city school district. So placing students is a virtual chess game anyway. And some districts will only take so many. So it's really, really hard to place them without a whole lot, hours and hours, probably spend 30 hours a week just on placements and monitoring the placements, working with so many different districts. We've enjoyed the virtual because they're actually getting in and getting some observations done. And virtual, I don't mean they're in a classroom. We don't even know where we're going to get into a classroom moving into the fall and even spring with everything. But, it's difficult. And I wish we were in a unified for just that reason alone, so that we could just have one person to deal with. But dealing with one, that district will take 3, this district will take 5 students and 200 students to do that with, it's tough. But we will only go into credentialed, and that's what our MOUs say, and we will only have a credentialed teacher. It will not be any other way. And so sometimes the students will get placed until like week 8 or 9 of the semester. It's tough.
I completely understand that, Kimberly.
I completely understand as well. I'm like shaking my head going, yep. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's interesting too that you mentioned the Cal State Bakersfield. I understand their students getting priority. Like I get that. Except now that we're talking about equity, at some point we might want to revisit that conversation. Because if we're looking at really like how do we diversify the field, how do we want to be capturing our community college students and working on retention with them, not just focusing on our students that have already made it through a large portion of the pathway and focusing on retention with them. We need retention throughout. But I think we've often kind of been second in line in a lot of things in our, for a lot of reasons. And so maybe it's time to not necessarily be first in line, but at least be able to stand in line in the same place together. And so, but on the academic Senate resolution, bringing EDU, ECE together, like we're working on bringing systems together. This is what it's all about.
Yes, for sure. Bill, I just saw your message in the chat. Where are you at? He's talking to me about a school that he knows is hybrid right now. And one of my dear friends is the vice principal there. So I've already been bugging her.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working with Carruthers for 15 years and it's a little teeny district. They have 1,500 kids. I think they're hybrid right now. About half the students are not showing up. They're just doing everything online, and then about half of the remaining half are there for 2 days each.
Yeah.
Teachers are really stressed. And so administrators are being very careful what they ask for and what they don't ask for. Some teachers don't want them, they're teaching from their classrooms, half there and half. So anyway, I'm just thinking by fall, there's probably some space. I'll be happy to, I mean, if you have better connections, great. But I'm their leadership development person, so.
Okay, I taught at Alvina for years, Bill. So
yeah, okay,
yeah, my mother-in-law is still at Alvina. So my mother-in-law is teaching full day in her classroom. She has 8 students in her classroom all day, and for her special population group. And then she has this little flying robot that follows her around her room while she's teaching, so that their kids are on virtual, and she's very overwhelmed. Yeah. So yeah, I hear that for sure.
The other piece, just from earlier, I was trying to figure out how to talk and actually listen. On the K-12 side, privacy issues are important. There are a whole lot of people, I mean, Carruthers has got those people. They're counselors doing home visits to sort of reach out and include. And I don't think you should underestimate how poor some of the kids are and what the living conditions are. And I think what we're trying to do is invite, not mandate, engage, not order. I think and that probably applies for all of us. Everybody's stressed. Mental health's a real challenge.
For sure.
Bill, I appreciate you saying that. I remember when I was a kindergarten teacher and I used to occasionally do home visits, and I actually shared this on the early childhood community of practice earlier in January. I once did a home visit on a child I was very concerned about academically. And I walked into the home, sat down. I was with my friend because it was a bilingual home and my Spanish is like, okay, but not great. And I wanted to make sure we were really communicating. And so my girlfriend and I were in there. Within moments, we realized that we were in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house with 12 people living in the living room.
Yeah. Yeah.
A kid flung open the fridge, and we all know what our fridges look like, right? Like we always have crap-o-rama, like a ton of stuff, right? This child and their family with 12 literally had 1 container of mustard and a bowl of beans soaking, and that was it. So guess what? When I left that house, the academics were totally on a whole secondary level at that point. That whole concept of Maslow before Bloom. I was like, this kid needs food, she needs clothes. I need to make sure the people living in the house are like, they've got what they need. And so it is such a different time. And that compassion that you're talking about and trying to be understanding, such a huge, huge piece of it. But we are really we should write a book when things go back to whatever they look like moving forward, because this is a whole,
Yeah, I think you should capture the student voice and the student experience now. Honor that struggle.
I'm actually on that with another group called Joint Special Populations. We're doing a lot with students right now to get student voice. So I'm there with you and totally agree.
Yes, for sure. I think we could all attest to that and spend quite a bit of time talking about our students and the reality of what life is for some of them, for sure. So we will definitely continue to build in pieces and look at opportunities. I'll probably email you later, Bill, and bug you. We'll come up with some solutions for the Central Valley. So looking forward, I want to be cautious of our time. I worked on updating the MOU for my district. I've got it vetted with my VP. We're going to change a little bit of the language. It's going to go through my HR department. I wanted to share it with you. Simple changes, just silly things, but like focusing on opportunities for virtual observation for different roles for our students in the K-12 setting, where right now they might be working in these school offices and then doing work in after school programs after school with the teachers and helping them create technical lesson plans. So they might not be on campus when students are on campus, they might be working in areas where their students are not located at the time, and then having more partnership and mentoring from the teachers and using our younger students' technology skills to help our veteran teachers develop some more of those lessons. So that's kind of the things that we're looking at as far as development, where I can get students on campus, but they might not be in the classroom until after the students are done for the day. But that's still an extremely powerful opportunity for the student and the teacher. So taking those into consideration and developing where we can, building in language, simple language, talking about the roles and responsibilities, and working to observe and volunteer, whether it is going to be in remote learning, virtual learning, or on campus. So simple language changes, working again with my HR department before I move that out to my K-12 partners. And then I just have a very simple teaching letter that goes out to students that we work on as far as the hours for my 2 courses and what that looks like, and then changing up the language. And then we'll be working on expanding on this a little bit more beyond this point, where it's not just observation, but opportunity again for students to help with the technology pieces, because that's where they're strong at. So continuing to build that. And as I make updates, I'll make changes and send those out. And they'll also be updated in the Canvas Commons project when we enroll again. We were asked last meeting to work on video summaries for those videos that are in the Canvas Commons project. So as you're doing this, let me know. I have made a few of my components for 5 of the lessons that I recently just did. I included the link, the actual lessons here, and then a summary of those. And then I have questions that my students use. I either put them in a discussion board or it's part of their observation hours. And then this form here, I will be updating on the accessibility. This is something that Leticia shared with me back in the fall. And so that is also in our Commons project that she had handed out. So thank you, Leticia. And I look forward to continuing to learn more from all of you and gain new information as you're developing. Please add them here for us, and we will make sure that the attributions are there for you and that we can continue to share and support as we build and design together. I'm going to share this really quickly for you all. Again, I'll add it. I don't know if I need to do anything.
Wait, it's in the Commons or it's not in the Commons?
This is not in the Commons right now, but there is the link to this page. So if you are to this, I'm not Google friendly, guys, sorry. So it's like an Excel sheet. I'm so Microsoft. And if you have any of the videos that you've created activities from the Commons project or any video, please add that here, and we'll make sure we include all of this moving forward into the new project. We want to make sure we include activities to go with those videos for you as we're developing.
Okay, so where can we find this link in the chat?
I just put it in the chat right before you said that, Sharon.
Okay, so here's my next question, and other people might have it too. There's no save chat button on my screen. Is that supposed to be that way?
Yes, that's a privacy issue through Zoom. So what we do is we take the transcripts, and when we get them set up and the chat box notes, I send them to Bobby, and she'll put them on the CCC TPP website
Okay.
for teacher
That's
prep.
good.
I'll
'Cause I
show
have
you
to
that.
add to that sheet, and I didn't know that we had a joint sheet, so I want to do that.
Well, we just wanted to share that today. So we just have a couple of quick tips that we wanted to review with you based on time. See, Megan is our amazing masterful timekeeper, and I am not. So we would have been much further along. I'm letting her down today. So Renee and I are going to cover just a couple of these quick points. Again, thinking about the guided pathways funding and the equity dollars that are coming through right now. Take those to your administrative team, help them support you in designing whatever funding you can get towards building in opportunity for your education programs, whether that is developing a stackable, whether it's developing specific initiatives, strong workforce dollars are available, developing specific career pathways or dual enrollment. We have a lot of opportunity coming in right now through funding. So make sure that you're reaching out to your administration to make sure to see if there's anything available for your education programs. Again, don't reinvent the wheel. Our website, I'll share that link before we leave here at the teacher prep program. We have a lot of opportunity already built in. I don't think I can copy and paste from here. I'll get it in the chat box to you in just a minute.
Okay.
But designing what that looks like, we've already done a lot of that work in our TPP over the last few years and really made those changes on our webpage. And then again, going through and thinking about the opportunities to participate. Renee, do you want to chime in here on those components that we were talking about earlier?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so many different ways that people can get engaged right now if they want to. As everybody knows, we've got our COPs that are active. Our ECE COP is not meeting again till the start of March, but we are continuing monthly meetings from both groups, and the early childhood community practice is continuing to roll out free training and professional development as well. But we want people to be involved as much as possible. You've got our general TPP group. We've got the conferences coming up. We're looking for high impact, low cost ideas always, low cost, no cost. But it's also important to be collaborating with people on your campus, which can be a little bit tricky in these virtual spaces. But you got to make sure that you're attending your advisory meetings and hosting your advisory meetings. And when your local district invites you to go to one of their meetings, show up. If Mesa reaches out to you, or financial aid, or whoever it is on your campus that's interested, you got to get those partnerships going. Another thing too that we want to mention is the importance of having your advisory committee and really making sure that you have strong representation. Even if you don't have any funding right now, you want to get an advisory committee going, because that can help you to get funding moving forward. If there's anybody on here who is interested in, some information on how to set up an advisory or the type of people that you would like to have on advisory, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Shannon. We'd be happy to meet with you and help in that area. I know it took me quite a few years to really figure out kind of who was the biggest bang for the buck in terms of advisory, and also how do you make it where it's not taxing on your advisory members. I know of some people host advisories once a year, once a semester, once a quarter. You don't want to try and set yourself up for failure by saying, I'm going to host advisory every single month. Because if you're bringing in people from all different groups, they're not going to have that capacity. So you want to make sure that you're creating an advisory that also has a structure that has capacity for everybody to have full participation. Before I transfer back quickly to Shannon, I also want to we were going to talk about stackable certificates. And where did you want me to mention that, Shannon?
You can do that here.
Is that okay? Okay. One of the things is we're always looking for these other kind of tricks. And one of the things that we should be working on is, as we are looking at our curriculum, creating new courses, creating certificates, we should always be looking at the concept of stacking our certificates. So for instance, you might have a student who's in dual enrollment. They're already starting to take some of your EDU classes and, the courses that they need to get on the teacher pathway. And so why not create some sort of certificate where when they finish the high school portion of the dual enrollment pathway, there's an opportunity there. I know in my local area, we talked about creating a paraprofessional certificate that the students who are in the high school pathway can get it while they are in the pathway. The students who are at the main campus can work on that while they're on their main campus, and that paraprofessional certificate can get you a job right away. So then you say, I've got the paraprofessional certificate. Great. Now, what else do I need to get that AD? You know, what else do I need to get my degree? What else do I need to get it to a transfer degree? What kind of certificate could I maybe get if I take 1 or 2 additional courses? An example might be a specialization in special education. Maybe you're on the pathway and just taking 1 more class gives you another certificate. So when that student goes out to the field, they're not just going to look like they've got an AA in education. You know, they're going to look like they've got this certificate, this, and this. And the ideas are these certificates build on top of each other, and they are points, they're pathway points into the career, and not necessarily full-time points. They're entry points of places that you can go to. So we really want to be creating these stackable certificates that are lined up in a way where our students can truly maximize the time that they get to spend with us. Oh, great. I see Kim's already putting some information. Bill too in the chat. Excellent.
Kimberly's been a rock star in that. I've enjoyed getting to work with her because she's also near me. So thank you, Kimberly, for sharing that.
No problem.
Yeah, they're doing, you guys are doing such amazing work there. I'm so excited to watch you guys get to grow. Moving forward again, thinking about opportunities for developing student clubs. I got to work alongside Kimberly with our club development for our student teacher, our future teachers. So looking at a campus club, I'm doing a virtual online monthly meeting right now for my students, and developing opportunities. We have always had like a couple of awards that we give out every year, and we give a silly t-shirt, nothing major. We recently took our community impact award, and we had one of our student supplemental instructors who was a big part of helping grow our student club on our campus and developing our Team Teach program. He finished with us and he wanted to work with troubled youth. Well, he decided it wasn't time for him, and he went into the military, and he passed away last year as active duty. And his wife was in my class this semester. She's going to work on carrying on his legacy to become a teacher. So in the spirit of all that has gone on with him and him having a huge impact on our campus, we've shifted gears with our community impact award, and now it's named after him. And we were able to work on funding. And so now it's an actual, not just like a silly certificate, it's part of our program with our scholarship program, and it's become a scholarship now on our campus. So continuing to find ways to grow. I know it's nothing, it's a sad way to find a scholarship, but I was super excited that we get to let his legacy live on our campus. So finding ways to make those connections for your students is so important. And then looking at the CTE advisory committee meetings, follow where those are happening on your campus, be a voice with your CTE dean, work with that department, work with supporting anywhere that you can to develop some of those mentoring programs with like work experience. We're currently doing that now. I got to share last week with Renee, we finally have our own program in the Central Valley on making a difference in education through the CTE sector. So it's exciting to continue to see the work grow, and being a part of TPP and the process of developing that, gosh, what, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe. And now seeing all of that work redeveloped in our own program was phenomenal and exciting work. So we know that we'll continue to make changes and see the growth. So be a part of any of those committees that you can get into, because that's where a lot of that funding is continuing to be pushed. So take advantage while you can. Think about, again, options for assistance in different professional organizations. ACTEP is meeting again March 2nd. For a conference. That one, the CTE SPAN conference is open to all that's coming up. So there's a lot of opportunity. Attend any open meetings that you can. Peach is another great opportunity. CCC AOE is coming up.
We're presenting this. We are presenting the COP as one of our 4 presentations that we'll be doing at that conference. And it's going to be the ECE and EDU COP talking about how do you create community during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Which should be fun to talk about.
Yes. And Kathleen, it's funny, as soon as I got my CTED emailed me that handbook, I was like, oh, Kathleen would be so excited to see this. So yes, it's exciting to see as these things continue to grow, and it's a vision that the TPP has been working on for over 10, 15 years now. And it's so wonderful that we get to continue to watch it expand and see all that you all are doing to continue to support education and our future teachers. So keep up the hard work, you guys. We are looking forward to seeing you all in March. Please, if you have anything you want help with, send it my way. I'll make sure we'll include. Something happened in the chat box, Renee?
Yes, Becky just wrote something awesome. The early childhood club they have on campus at Taft did a drive-through where they handed out professional portfolios, and they're going to do it again this semester. And then they gave a safe treat and then a gift for all their graduates. So this is, I mean, especially as we're heading into graduation and spring semester. Becky, I love this idea. If you'd be willing to expand on it more with us, I know we're timed today, but maybe as we go into next month and our meeting, if you're available to come and speak for a few minutes, I think it'd be awesome to talk a little bit more about that, because we want to figure out how do we connect in this virtual space as much as possible? How do we humanize this experience? And especially, how do we celebrate our graduates this year?
Yes, wonderful. That's a great way to kind of wrap us up for the day. So I appreciate that. Again, dates are here for you all. We do have a few updates as far as the Campus Commons project. We'll keep working on that. We are going to focus more on the stackable EDU certificates in March. So if you have any questions, please send them our way. We'll work on getting those answered for you. This is what we have so far for this semester. April, we'll look at apprenticeships, look at mentoring programs, things like that. And then May 12th, we have not quite gotten there yet. So if you have anything specific, send it our way and we'll work on adding it. Again, there is the Commons Project, and then you can find us at theteacherprepprogram.org for any other questions. This recording will be there available soon. Our Canvas Commons Project is still up and running. So if you need any resources, jump on there and grab those. Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you being here.
Have a great afternoon, everybody, and hopefully most of us have a 4-day weekend. Happy 4-day weekend for those who have it. Take care, everybody, and be in touch if you need anything. Please, we're here to be a resource.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,